in their endeavors for perfection. On the one hand, success. On the other, ruination. That is Arjuna's choice. Which one? To be successful or to get ruined? That means to follow what Krishna is saying or to disregard what Krishna is saying and get ruined. So the question arises, according to Srila Baladev, why do people who transgress your desire not fear punishment from Vishnu, as criminals who fear punishment from a king? And Krishna answers as follows. So yes, that was what we dealt with last time. You see? Why is it that, people who transgress Krishna's desire, who go against Krishna's desire, they do not fear punishment from him, as criminals who fear punishment from the king? They're supposed to fear. Like when criminals get to where a king is, they begin to shake because they have committed. So they should fear punishment. But why is it that those who are disobeying Krishna's will, doing as they like, do not fear sin? And I think Krishna talked about how the modes of nature are involved, that they are covered. So let's hear what Krishna says in verse 33. Verse 33. Sadrisam chestate swasya prakriti gyanavam api prakritim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishati. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish? I thought we even treated this one, or we did not. Purpose.
Yes, we treated this one also.
Yeah, we treated this one also. Yes.
But it's okay if you can go over.
Yes, the purport. Okay, let's read the purport. Can you read the purport?
Unless one is situated on the transcendental platform of Krishna consciousness, we cannot get free from the influence of the modes of material nature, as it is confirmed by the Lord in the 7th chapter, text 14. Therefore, even for the most highly educated person on the mundane plane, it is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya. Sorry. It is impossible to get out of the entanglement of Maya simply by theoretical knowledge or by separating the soul from the body. There are many so-called spiritualists who outwardly pose as advanced in the science, but inwardly or privately are completely under particular modes of nature, which they are unable to surpass. Academically, one may be very learned, but because of his long association with material nature, he is in bondage. Krishna consciousness helps one to get out of the material entanglement, even though one may be engaged in his prescribed duties in terms of material existence. Therefore, without being fully in Krishna consciousness, one should not give up his occupational duty. No one should suddenly give up his prescribed duties and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. It is better to be situated in one's position and try to attain Krishna consciousness under superior training. Thus, one may be freed from the clutches of Krishna's Maya. Hare.
Yes. So that is it. We discussed it. Unless one is fully Krishna conscious, he cannot get out. And we make quotations of verse 7:14. What is that slogan? We quoted 1858 also. Davi hi sagunama yi mama maya duratia ya. that the external energy of the Lord is also divine, that this divine energy of mine is very, very difficult to overcome because it's very strong. Maya is very strong. So strong that however learned you are materially, it will keep you under its control. So it is not easy to get out unless one surrenders. That's why they don't even feel they are so covered that they don't even know that they are in ignorance. So unless one becomes Krishna conscious, you cannot get out. And Krishna said, therefore, for those who surrender unto me, they can easily cross beyond it. So the process of crossing beyond the influence of the illusory energy is surrender to Krishna. And 58 also, he said, 1858, Machita Salvadurgani, Mat Prasadat Tarisias, Atache Twam Ahankara, Nasrus Yasif in anxious. Yes. If you do not walk under Krishna's direction, you will be lost. But if you walk under Krishna's direction, you will cross over all the obstacles of conditional life by his grace. Now that grace of the Lord is what enables one to become free. And to acquire the grace, you have to surrender. So then, here, Maya, despite one's intelligence, is invested with the potency to push a conditioned soul away from Krishna consciousness. Then the next sloka, 34, answers the question. If we all are helplessly forced to act according to our nature, what is the use of so many rules in the Shastras to regulate our activities? What is the use of those so many rules in the Shastra to regulate our activities? If we are all helplessly trapped, then Krishna answered that question in his next verse. And that is 34. Indriyasya yasyate ragadwesau vyavasitau tayona vasam agashat tauhi yasya paripantino. There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Purpose. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. Those who are in Krishna consciousness, they don't need to follow all those Vedic regulations. You must worship this demigod, worship that demigod, do this, Indra is giving this, you worship him, Varuna is giving. They don't need to follow those rules and regulations if you are in Krishna consciousness. If you are truly situated in Krishna consciousness, you are not obliged to follow all those rules and regulations. But if you are not in Krishna consciousness, you are obliged to follow those rules and regulations as contained in the scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material bondage, material entanglement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. And that is the whole subject matter of everybody should do his prescribed duty, because by doing those prescribed duties in the Varnashram, one will become gradually elevated. You are doing activities or religiosity, following these rules and regulations so that you can prosper. Economic development, religiosity for economic development for sense gratification. But that sense gratification also should be regulated by scriptural injunctions. You do things according to the definitions of the scripture. That is following scriptural injunctions. If you do that, you will be gradually elevated. If you are not fully Krishna conscious, then you must do those as your prescribed duties for gradual elevation. Otherwise, life becomes like living animal life. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul. and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. According to scriptural injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationship with any woman other than one's wife. No other woman or no other women are to be considered as one's mother. No, sorry. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relationship with other women. These propensities are to be curbed. Otherwise, they will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realizations. So that means we should act according to the scriptural regulations. So since regulated sense gratification is what is allowed, regulate your sense gratifications according to those scriptural injunctions. Then you will be gradually purified while gratifying the senses. Then follow the rules. Then you'll be, otherwise, it will be difficult for you to come out. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray. As much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. You know, royal roads are very big. Roads that are leading to the palace, roads that are coming from the palace, they are royal roads. They are called royal roads. They are usually wider than normal roads, and they engage the best of engineers to construct them. So they are best. Everything, the best materials are used to construct those roads. They are royal. They are very wide. If normal road is double lane, the royal roads are like 4 lanes. So better say, even there are chances for accidents on such royal roads. So even the regulated sense gratification, one should not be attached to it. When doing that regulated sense gratification, you should be thinking of how to transcend sense gratification entirely. You see? So this is the injunction there. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations, and yet we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, unattached. Don't get stuck there. When you are there, you should be thinking of the higher goal so that you can eventually gravitate towards that. Because practice of sense purification, sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray. Yes, as much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger, even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. Don't get stuck there. You are doing regulated sense enjoyment because you cannot control the senses altogether. So that allowance is given to you. But don't get stuck there enjoying this allowance, because there is still a chance for fall down, as much as there is still chance for accidents on the royal road. Therefore, let your meditation be how to give sense gratification up entirely. Not get stuck and justify and begin to live within the boundaries of regulated sense gratification. Try to go beyond this. You are given that allowance because you cannot control the senses. Those who can control the senses do not need to indulge themselves. in such activities. Okay? The mercy of the Lord, so that while doing it, you will gradually be dragged out. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to be constituted on the platform of Krishna consciousness. Okay? So that is it. According to the dictates of the mode of material nature, the conditioned living entity does whatever its mind suggests. Because the mind is surrendered to the senses, whatever we are attached to, that is raga, we do. And whatever we are averse to, we avoid. So attachment and aversion, they are two ends of a pendulum. When the pendulum swings from this end, it oscillates. You go oscillation, yes. It swings from this end to that end, and come back from that end to this end. That is one oscillation. One. This is one oscillation. It's swinging from this polarity to the opposite polarity. Then from that polarity to the opposite polarity. This is called attachment and aversion. One polarity is attachment, the other polarity is aversion. So we should not swing like a pendulum, from polarity to polarity, from the polarity of aversion to the polarity of attachment. Attachment and aversion. We should rise above it, because both are binding. That is the purpose. That Krishna here instructs us that our actions should not be based on attachment and aversion, which are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. They are all within the same continuum. Attachment and aversion, they are within the same continuum. They are on the same line. Either you are on this end or you are on the other end, there are still reactions. You are not free. So the senses are attracted to the pleasures of this world, especially sex, and those brought by wealth. They are polluted by holy places. They are repulsed. Yes. Sense gratification is repulsed by holy places, fasting, selflessly following our spiritual master, and other items that limit sense enjoyment. You see? So Sastra directs us to shift our attachment and aversion away from sense gratification, by encouraging us to perform our duty with the ultimate aim of acting only for Krishna's pleasure. And the next verse, therefore, again, stresses that we should perform our prescribed duties. Perform your prescribed duties instead. It is better to perform your prescribed duties imperfectly than to renounce. So Krishna is still against Arjuna's idea of avoiding his duty of fighting and going to the other polarity of renouncing to the forest to go and be like a Gyani. Don't do that. You should instead focus on performing your prescribed duty as a way of showing example for others. Because if you show bad example, they will follow your bad example, surely. And they will quote you that, yes, even Arjuna did like this. So in order not to give people bad example to follow, example of false renunciation or abandonment of responsibility, you should instead show them positive example. Because you are already popular, your popularity can be used to promote goodness. Okay, so popular man Arjun, do your prescribed duty and show good example. Why? Because Yadyada Charati Sreshtas, Tata Devitarojana, Sayat Pramanam Kurute, Lukas Tad Anubatati. Whatever action a great man performs, common man follows. And whatever standard is set by exemplary act, all the world pursues. So example, fight. Let them say Arjuna fought. Despite all this, better to say that than to say Arjuna ran away from battlefield. And so I will also abandon my responsibility. Okay, so attachment and aversion, we give them up. So the next verse, therefore, again, stresses that we should perform our prescribed duties, and that is verse 35. Verse 35 says, Shreya swadam viguna paradharman swanu citat swadame nidanam Shreya paradhamu bhayava. It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the cause of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties. But to follow another's path is dangerous. Once you read the purport, Isana Goranga, read the purport.
Purport. Purport.
Yes.
One should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness, rather than those prescribed for others. Materially, prescribed duties are duties enjoined according to one's psychological condition, under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. But whether material or spiritual, one should stick to his prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules of his particular situation and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the modes of goodness is non-violent, whereas Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principles of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the mode of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete state of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana, or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinction of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parashuram was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendentally situated, they could do so. But as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duty according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So that is it. It's better to do your own prescribed duties faultily than to do another's duty perfectly. So know your level and act accordingly. That is the whole injunction. Know your level and act accordingly. And Krishna actually did not want Arjuna to show that bad example. So he emphasized on this. That you better do your duties. Even if it's imperfect, do it. The spiritual master in Krishna consciousness can just engage anybody according to his nature. The spiritual master makes situational analysis. He knows each and every one diagnostically. He knows each and every disciple, and he knows what each and every disciple can do. So he engages his disciples accordingly. You see, but below that, prescribed duties must not be given up. One has to do his duty. It's better to do it imperfectly than to do another's own duty perfectly. Yes, that a Brahmana should not try to act like a Kshatriya try to act like a Brahmana. During exceptional cases, the examples are given of Parasuram and is it Vishwamitra also? Those are exceptional cases, but generally it is not done. By doing your duty, that's why Krishna himself, he acted as a householder, attending all the meetings, doing all the different yagyas, even though he doesn't need to do them, because for him it's beyond, but just to show examples for others, he did all those. An ideal householder should not play with those regulative principles in household life. That's the example they try to show. So he wants Arjuna to show a similar example. A Kshatriya must never abandon his duty of fighting. Okay, he should not abandon his duty suddenly. Otherwise, it becomes premature renunciation. It doesn't lead to the higher planets. It leads to degradation instead. So Krishna is very emphatic about this. As devotees, our only prescribed duty is to render devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master. So we are lucky. Whatever service the spiritual master gives to us, we do. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has made it easy. That the only jagya recommended for us in this age is chanting the holy name of the Lord and telling everyone about Krishna consciousness, that this is the medicine. We should take it and also teach others how to take that medicine. Now, if we are doing like that, following the orders of the spiritual master, doing this ultimate jagya, the jagya for this age, every other thing that could be attained by any other process is automatically available for him. So this is the lesson. Krishna never agreed for Arjuna to give up his duty. So don't do your duty, don't give up your duty. As an eternal living entity in Krishna consciousness, our duty is to render devotional service. Why? Because Jivara Swarupa Haya, Krishnara Nitya Das. This is our eternal duty. Our Swadharma is to do devotional service to Krishna, following the footsteps of Ambarish Maharaj, engaging all our senses in the service of the master of the senses. That is it. Then what is the next verse? Yes. Next, Arjuna asks an important question. After hearing text 34, one may immediately think, yes, From today onward, I will steadily do my duty and control my attachments and aversions. I will act only according to Shastra. Experience teaches, however, that such immediate inspirations may prove difficult to adhere to over time. So Arjun, being aware of reality, asked the following question. So 36 is a question asked by Arjuna in response to verse 34, that we should give up attachment and aversion, because we should give up attachment and aversion and do only according to Shastra. Okay, I will do that. But taking such decision can be hasty decision that we can follow it for some time, but later it will become difficult to follow again. So Arjuna is asking this question now. 36. Arjuna uvacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusa anichana pibasneya bala iva niyojita. Arjuna uvacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purusa anichana pibasneya balad iva niyojita. Arjuna said, O descendant of reasoning, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Yes. So, purport. A living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contamination. That is our real identity. Pure, eternal, free from all material contamination. Therefore, by nature, is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation, and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. So Arjuna has asked this question, by what is one impelled to sin? Even though one is a pure spiritual, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? So Krishna is going to answer. And this section of the Gita, this section of the chapter 3 is called Beware of Lust. Beware of lust. Okay, can you see my screen? Before we enter into this lust, because this is the last part of this particular chapter, and it is very, very powerful. But before we enter into it, let's look at some of these things on the screen and see. This is about the Royal Road. The picture on the screen is about the Royal Road, accident on the Royal Road. There could be accident even on the Royal Road. Yes. That is 34. Beware of lust and anger. Verse 36 to 43. This is the last part of beware of lust and anger. I want this thing on top to go away. It's not going away. Hey, I'm going to click something. I'll spoil the whole thing. Oh, I went to clean, so I wanted to drive away this thing that I'm going to hook here. This thing is covering something. It refused to go until I sent away my whole screen. Oh my God. Oh my God. Make me to send away my screen for what? I don't know how to get my screen back. My screen, please come back. Forgive me. Screen sharing has stopped. Okay. So the screen is gone out entirely, no problem. I will go out of it. My God. Okay, let's go on. So this is it. I wanted to share the screen, but no. The screen says no. But here is the situation. Arjuna wanted to know what is the cause that somebody even knows that is pure spirit soul, but is forced to do certain activities as if he's engaged by force. What is the cause? Is it the super soul that induces one to commit sin? The super soul never induces anyone to commit sin. So how is it that the eternal spirit soul is engaged in lower propensities as if engaged by force? As if engaged by force. So Krishna is going to answer him in the next verses. Okay, that is verse 36, then 37. Sinful activities are not impaired by the super soul, but are due to another cause. So what is that cause? So verse 37, Krishna will answer Arjuna directly now. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Kama esa kroda esa. Rajoguna Samunbhava. Mahasano Mahapapma. Vidhinam Ihavairinam. The Supreme Personality of God has said, it is lost only Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world. Somebody should read the purport. Very essential purport.
Purport.
Yes, Oyeka God Jehovah.
Hare Krishna, forward.
Read on.
When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust. In association with the mode of passion, or in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust. As milk in contact with the salt tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrought in the manifestation of the mode of ignorance, these modes exhibit themselves as wrought and other corollaries. If therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead explained himself into many for his ever-increasing spiritual bliss. And the living entities are parts and parcel of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, whether the serving attitude is transformed into the propensity for self-enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their reposition. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vandata Sutras, wherein it is said, Atato Brahma Jignasa, one should inquire into the Supreme. And the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Arekom.
Janmadi Asya Yato Mbaya Ditarata Chatusu Abigia Swarats. Are you there? So it's defined as in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadi Asya Yato Mbaya Ditarata Cha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, the origin of lust is also the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Ram, exhibited his wrath by burning the golden city of Ravana. But by doing so, he became the greatest devotee of the Lord. Here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, becomes our friends instead of our enemies. So, it is said that lust and love, they are two sides of the same coin. One is the head, one is the tail. That means wherever there is love, there is also lust on the other side. That means the absence of love is lust. So there are two sides of the same coin. And therefore, if one learns the art and science of transforming that lust by removing oneself from the center and putting Krishna in the center, it is very great. That yes, to transform it is to just remove oneself from the center and let Krishna be in the center, so that all your activities should be geared towards satisfying Krishna instead of satisfying yourself. But the same intensity is needed. The same intensity. of involvement is needed. So like that when these propensities and lower propensities are engaged in the service of Krishna, they become purifying agents. And by that, when Hanuman fought and burned down Sri Lanka in the service of Lord Ramachandra, Hanuman is glorified. And by the same token, when Arjuna was induced by Krishna to fight on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he fought for the satisfaction of Krishna, and he remained glorified. So similarly, the principle of Krishna consciousness is param drisva nevartante, replacing lower engagement with higher engagements. The engagement is there. Engagement is there, but now the lower engagement is replaced with higher engagement. That is the difference. Now let's read this. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine. Okay, that was the previous verse. As to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the supersoul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. And let's see. Now, this is the next verse. Here, also, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord induces Arjuna to engage his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. So what we should do is to learn how to replace our lower engagements with higher engagements. Standing in front of the deity and folding hands and just looking at the deity while everyone else is dancing, that is not advancement. Advancement means dancing vigorously for the Lord, as you would dance vigorously for self gratification. The same intensity is required. Dance vigorously for the pleasure of the Lord. So those who are practicing that, is to stop it. If you want to be really seen as advanced by the Lord, when you get there, dance. Don't stand like tree. Yes. And don't find it difficult to open your eyes. Open your mouth, Open your mouth to sing the glories of the Lord when you are in front of the deity in his temple room. You should clap. You should play instruments. If you know how to play any instrument, play it for the pleasure of the Lord. This is what is required. So it is not about avoiding what energy you have. It's about engaging your talents. So it's the same thing. It's not about avoiding your talents. Engage whatever talent you have in Krishna consciousness, and it becomes a purifier for you. So this is the whole process. And that Krishna says it is not the super soul that induces one to commit sin, but it is lust only. And that lust, because it burns like fire, it's just like, fuel is burning and you add more petrol to it, it will burn more. So it is lust, it burns like fire. It is very, very, the more you try to satisfy it, the more it continues to burn you. So the solution is not continuous self gratification. The solution is to abstain, is to refrain from it, is to remove yourself from the center and let the Lord be in the center. That is the solution, not otherwise. So this is what is being explained here. Are there some questions or commentaries on these points?
Yes, I have a question, or to be more clarified. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 36, chapter 37, under the purport, this last, the down one, it said this material creation is created by the Lord to give facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities began to inquire about their real position. So this place now, like as you explained, it's not the supreme personality, it's not the super soul that is causing the living entity to be committing sin or acting against their own will, but it gives them the facility to fulfill their lustful propensities. So now this place now, I need a clarification.
Thank you very much, Oyeka God Jehovah. Yes, the point is that just as we read in previous verses also, that the purpose of creation is for all the living entities to perform jagya so that they can be gradually elevated. Since they have that propensity to enjoy, the Lord created this material world and gave guidance on how to enjoy in such a way that your enjoyment will not entangle you. That's why jagya come in prescribed duties on how to act is given. If you want this, act like this. If you want this, recognize the demigod. If you want this, do that. Some jagyas are given. So that when you do those jagyas, it is some kind of yoga with the consideration of pleasing the Lord is there. So the activity begin to purify you. The formula is given to you. When you follow the formula, if you want to have sex, for instance, which example that is given, if you cannot give up sex, then you marry only one woman and engage in sex with that one woman. And even that, it has to be regulated so that you only have sex with the woman for the purpose of procreation. That means you will not just have sex anyhow. We all know the time that is best for that. After ovulation, you calculate that period and meet your woman in the right mood. Then if the woman becomes pregnant, then you stop having sex because the purpose of having sex is achieved. So for the next 9 months, no engagement in sex. Until even after she gives birth, you have to give some months. That's when you are ready for another child, then you go in again. You see, these regulations are given. So if you follow this regulation, even though the license is already given to you for sense gratification, you will be gradually purified because of the regulation involved. The food is there, but don't eat it. Don't eat it. The food is there, but you have to know when to eat. You have to eat at the right time. So there are regulations for every activities. All are enjoined in the Vedas. You are supposed to follow that. So the Lord of creation, ultimately created this world and sent forth a host of demigods and men, so that demigods will regulate the activities. Men will follow that scriptural regulations and act and be gradually elevated. He has provided the facilities for sense gratification. But you have to gratify the senses according to the scriptural injunctions. If you do that, you will be gradually elevated. So even though it is not the Lord that induces the living entity to go into lusty activities, since you have decided to use your independence in that way, He has provided the facilities. But these facilities I'm giving you, you have to do according to my regulations. So if you discard the scriptural injunctions, you will be entangled by the reaction of the thing you are trying to do. Unless you act on the platform of the regulations I give you, you will be entangled by the reaction of whatever you do. Since you have your independence, I am telling you this before time, so that when you go, you either act according to my regulations and get free from simple reactions, or you act according to your whims and get entangled. Those who act according to their whims now succumb, they will not get happiness. Now parangatim, they will not get the supreme destination. Now siddhim, they will not get perfection also. Now sa siddhim avapnuti, now succumb, now parangatim. If you discard the scriptural injunctions, Nasa Sidim, Ya Sasra Vidim, if you avoid the Sasra Vidim, the scriptural injunctions, Ya Sa Vidi Sasra Vidim Ushrijia, Ya Sasra Vidim Ushrijia, Vartate Kamakarata. If you discard the scriptural injunctions and decide to act according to your own whims, Kamakarata, not hearing me, Nasa Sidim Abab Noti, that means Na Sidim, Na Sukam, Na Paramgatim. No perfection, no happiness, no supreme destination. So I give you Sastra Vidim so that you can regulate your activities. You want to gratify your senses? Follow this process. Okay? If you avoid this process and like to act according to your whims, just like cats and dogs, the implication is that you will be bound by the reaction of your activities. So the mechanism is already in place to deal with you. And if you choose to go that way, okay, when you are bound, you continue to suffer changing bodies. Material nature will give you a particular type of body with particular type of senses, with particular type of mouth, particular type of nose, particular type of eyes, just like you look at the pig. The pig has a particular type of eyes, a particular type of nose, particular type of teeth, particular type of mouth, particular type of legs, particular type of stomach, particular type of anus, and particular type of genitals. Huh? You'll be given that particular type, and you have to act accordingly, because any body type of body given to you is a spell. The aggregate of your lifetime activities will now be transformed into a spell. And that spell is the body that you are given. And it has to have a particular type of eyes, particular type of nose, particular type of ears, particular type. That's why the dog, eyes and nose and mouth and tongue, everything are a particular type. The cat zone are a particular type. The rat zone are a particular type. The snake zone are a particular type. The human being zone are a particular type. The fish zone are a particular type. Then you have to cope with that spell for a whole lifetime. You'll be entangled like this. So if you throw away the injunctions I'm giving you to regulate you, you want to misuse your independence and throw away these regulations, you'll be entangled in this way. I tell you before, when you are entangled, you cannot come out, because some levels are very deep in ignorance. And you have to act there for as long as you're supposed to. I've told you, use your independence to follow me. If you follow me, you'll be free. While acting in this world, you'll still be free. So that's why I say he has created this world and sent forth a host of demigods, human beings, and rules and regulations, manual on how to live. If you decide to ignore what he has given you and want to act according to your whims, you will be lost. You will go deeper into, sinful reactions, and you get all kinds of bodies. Are you ready? You maintain your freedom to act as you like. Okay, this will be the consequences. You should be ready for it. That is it. So the Lord only made the provision, just like government send you to prison. But in the prison, they still make arrangement for you to eat. Everything is there somehow, but your freedom is restricted. That is the difference. Your freedom is restricted. That you are within the prison under their surveillance. And they see how you are reforming. When you reform to a certain level, they now bring you out. So this is the whole arrangement by the Lord. Therefore, the purpose of creation is to gradually, purify the living entity by those regulated activities and eventually bring them out of material bondage entirely, introducing them to Krishna consciousness. So that is it, Prabhu. Independence is there for you. The mechanism is given. You act accordingly, you get one result. You act in disobedience, you get another result. The choice still is yours. The choice is yours. But you can imagine.
Hare Krishna. With the matter you understand, Abi, With the person's wife understand?
And now you have to let her understand. It's a big work. That's why the task is enormous.
This one is big work. Say until you expecting a child, that is when you will meet. You and your wife will meet.
Yes. After that, no more sex.
After that, no more until she born, she give birth, and you still give her some months again.
Yes, until when you want another child.
Okay, let's assume now, say one now is doing that, then, and that one is your own personal decision. What about the woman? How, if she cannot cook or something?
It's not your personal decision. And let your woman know that this is the regulation. From the onset. That means that at the beginning, don't hide this into her. Explain it to her. To save yourself, explain it to her from the beginning. And if she accepts, then you will use it to be reminding her. But I told you before. I told you before we started.
When you take the soup, you better not to take the soup. Take the soup, it's more even more delicate, more than even celibacy.
Hey, now, that's why those who follow it, they are called Griyasa Brahmacharis. If you are able to follow that, you are equal to a sannyasi.
You know, this chapter, this text you just read now, it reminded me of the Bible passages that I read.
Okay.
When Adam, they will say that Adam gave birth. The first child it will be like maybe 20 years or 30 before he will give birth again. You go see say the child can't too much gap between the second one and the third one. So I was imagining that, does it mean that they are not having now this topic that make me to understand what that place meant? That they were not meeting each other until they need child.
Yes.
Because I see the child gap between those all those people who live long that time. The gap between the children. Sometimes the first child go use like 20 years to senior the other one. The other one go use like 10 years senior the one when they fall out. So
yeah, they were following those regulations.
Is it God that regulated it because no family plan that time? But this topic is saying that they are not meeting until they need child.
Yes, the injunctions were there, and that time they were following.
Okay.
They tried to follow, but now people are very, very whimsical. Even the woman will not. Even if the man wants to follow, the woman will not allow him.
Don't start to.
So it's a risk. It's a big risk to go into that place at all. It's indirect way of telling you that it's better you don't go there at all. Oh. Are you ready? You say, yes, I'm ready.
No woman will cry.
You are ready. You have been told many ways. You say, no problem. You want to experience it by yourself, so you go in. So that is it. The regulations are there. How many people can follow that? That's why I said there is accident even on the royal road. So say the regulator saying gratification is what you want to follow. Be careful, oh. Don't misuse the license, oh, because there is accident even on the royal road. So try to think of giving it up entirely. Because you cannot give up entirely, that's why they give you that small allowance. It's not a small thing.
Not a small thing,
yes.
Only by grace, oh.
Only by His grace, yes. So loss arises from the mode of passion, and we should meticulously avoid that mode of passion if we wish to become free from lusty desires. That means even the type of food you eat, if you want to be free from lust, If you don't want to be agitated, the type of food you eat, you select them. If you eat certain type of food, you will get agitation. So you follow the wholesome formula, avoiding so many things. The way you eat, the way you do
I
everything.
remember those days. Mother told me to eat salt. Salt, salt.
Oh, yes. All these Maharajas, they tell you what they are not eating, you'll be surprised. Some of them, their food is completely tasteless. You want all the taste and you want the same result that they are getting. You want to gratify your senses and also get the same result that they are getting. So that is it. You have to pay for this. The commodity is very high. So you have to be ready to do that sacrifice. Otherwise, you respect them. Respect them and live according to your level. So the Prabhupada explains, if therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed. Hey, hey, Balabada, you are speaking fast in some language. Okay. So if you are not the one speaking, you can mute so that whatever you say will not come in. Okay, so that is the level. We have a long way to go. We're ready to go. Because from the mode of passion, loss is in mode of passion. If you are not careful, you will be demoted from the mode of passion to the mode of ignorance. If you are not careful. If you avoid the scriptural regulations, you can easily be demoted from the mode of passion to the mode of ignorance. So rather, you should conduct yourself according to the regulations so that you'll be elevated from the mode of passion to the mode of goodness. Because from the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. You want to come to the mode of goodness or you want to remain in passion, doing lusty activities, the choice is yours. If you do lusty activities, you will be demoted to the mode of ignorance. But if you do regulated activities according to the scripture, you'll be elevated to the mode of goodness. Then from there to the mode of pure goodness. Which one do you want? The choice is yours. So if therefore the mode of passion, instead of being degraded into the mode of ignorance, is elevated to the mode of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting according to the scriptures, then one can be saved from degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. Krishna further explains, he further explains loss in the next verse to let you know, to shine your eye, to see clearly, to draw our ears. Krishna Baba, Sri Bhagavan, is going to say something in verse 38. Listen very attentively then. Dume nambriyate varni yata darso malena sha yatabe nabrito garbas tatate nedamabritam. As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. Lust is the... So it has covered the living entities in different layers, different level of density. So that's what this verse is saying. Some are covered in the mode of goodness, some are covered by the mode of passion, some are in the mode of ignorance. Lust has covered them in different layers. They has categorized all the living entities into different categories and has covered them accordingly. Let's read the purport and see the clearer explanation of this. Verse 38, purport. There are 3 degrees of covering of the living entity by which his pure consciousness is obscured. 3 degrees of covering. This covering is but lost under different manifestations like smoke in the fire, dust on the mirror, and the embryo about the womb about the embryo. When loss is compared to smoke, it is understood that the fire of the living spark can be a little perceived. It's lighter, can be a little perceived. In other words, when the living entity exhibits his Krishna consciousness slightly, it may be likened to the fire covered by smoke. That means it's more in the mode of goodness, a little bit more in the mode of goodness. He has some good qualities still. It's not completely bad yet. It's like fire covered by smoke. Although fire is necessary where there is smoke, there is no overt manifestation of fire in the early stage. When you light fire, you first see the smoke. The smoke is coming out, coming out, coming out, but fire is close by. That is it. It's not, the covering is not very deep. Yes. Then, this stage is like the beginning of Krishna consciousness. The dust on the mirror refers to the cleansing process of the mirror of the mind by so many spiritual methods. The best process is to chant the holy name of the Lord. The embryo covered by the womb is an analogy illustrating a helpless position for the child in the womb. He is so helpless that he cannot even move. This stage of living conditions can be compared to that loss of the trees, to that of the trees. In the tree, there is a spirit soul. This tree is a person, but he's so covered that he cannot even move around. Just like the embryo is so covered, it's covering the soul, the living entity, so that he cannot even move. He's helplessly covered in the womb, inside stool and urine of the mother. He has to live there. He has to feed from whatever the mother eats. So his level of covering is very, very deep, as if compared to that of a mirror that is covered by dust. By cleaning, by wiping it with some cloths, the dust will remove and the mirror can see clearly again. So by practicing some processes of Krishna consciousness, Sravana, Ketana, Vishnu, Smarana, Pada, Sevana, Machana, following these 9 processes of bhakti, the mirror of the heart, the dust on the mirror of the heart will be cleansed gradually. So it is a lighter covering. The lightest covering is the early beginning, early stages of Krishna consciousness, whereby you might even be able to control the physical senses, but the subtle senses, the mind is still dwelling on some sense objects. So it's more subtle. If you are able to conquer that, you are closer to Krishna consciousness. So different layers, different degree of covering. And the living entities are categorized according to their level of covering. Some are like the embryo in the womb. Some are like the mirror covered by dust. Some are like fire covered by smoke. And this fire covered by smoke, we always give the analogy for you that it's like you're having a wood, you are carrying a dry wood. Inside the wood, there is fire, but it is not manifested until you are able to strike some combustible objects. When you ignite the fire, then it begins to, the process of igniting the fire is the process of these devotional practices we are doing. When you start practicing devotional services, chanting the holy name, reading the scriptures, doing deity worship, doing kirtan, cleaning the temple, you are igniting the fire. And once it is ignited, it will burn, and you come to discover that the whole wood you are carrying, big, long wood, is fire hiding inside it. So when you do those processes, you just catch up. With a little practice, one becomes cleansed. That is the mode of goodness. With a little practice. But for the mode of passion, there should be more practices. You have to be very, very intense in your practices for a long time. Then to be able to come out from the mode of ignorance is a long thing. You have to start washing pots and plates to start with. All the pots they use in cooking, you wash them. Other people plates, you struggle to wash them. Gradually, if you are doing these activities, purification will take place and the fire of Bhakti in you will be ignited. Then it will burn to ashes, all reaction to sinful activities. So it is very, very important when our spiritual master said that a devotee without service has no protection. You think it's light. It is not light. It is inside those services you are doing that you will get the fire of purification. So we have to take it very, very seriously. Take your services very seriously. That's when somebody wants to take your service. You should frown. You should not just easily give up your service. Somebody wants to take your service away from you, want to deprive you from serving. It's like calculated witchcraft. If you are a devotee and you are deprived of your service, it's a very great violence done to you because the service is your purifier and someone has taken it away from you. It's like not wanting you to get purification. So we are very conscious of those things. As fire is covered by smoke, as mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust. So the dust on the mirror refers to the cleansing process of the mirror of the mind by so many spiritual methods. The best process is to chant the holy name of the Lord. The embryo covered by the womb is an analogy illustrating a helpless position. For the child in the womb is so helpless that he cannot even move. This stage of living condition can be compared to that of a tree or the tree. The trees are also living entities, but they have been put in such condition of life by such a great exhibition of lust that they are almost void of all consciousness. The covered mirror is compared to the birds and beasts, and the smoke covered by fire is compared to the human being. In the form of a human being, the living entity may revive a little Krishna consciousness, and if he makes further development, the fire of spiritual life can be kindled and the human form of life, in the human form of life. By careful handling of the smoke in the fire, fire can be made to blaze. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for the living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under able guidance. So let's see it's very clear In this case, the Prabhupada is comparing it to be like the trees and the mode of ignorance, souls entrapped in the tree because because of the density of their lust, intensity of their lust, they are giving the body of trees. Like they make an example of the prostitutes who are dressing half naked. They are praying to become trees in their next life. Their degree of loss is very, very deep. Then the birds that are flying in the sky, they are more conscious than the trees that are standing in one place. But they are not as fortunate as the human beings, because the human being's soul is like in the mode of goodness. With a little practice of Krishna consciousness, their bhakti, their devotional service can be revived, and they get a chance. So human form of life is a special opportunity, and it's an opportunity for us to revive our Krishna consciousness. We should not waste it. That's why it is compared, the human form of life is compared to be a higher machine. So when you engage higher machine in higher propensities, then purification is rapid. But if you engage a higher machine in low propensities, you are trying to implicate, you can crash the machine. Just like you take a Porsche car to the farm and use it to go and do plowing. The human form of life is endowed with sufficient intelligence and discrimination so that you can easily filter reality from illusion. If you misuse it, however, it's like going to plow the farmland with a Porsche car. You are trying to use a higher machine for lower propensities. So engaging this human form of life in sense gratification is misusing a higher machine for lower propensities. The human form of life is meant to educate, to elevate, and to liberate. To educate yourself, educate others. In that process, refine your activities. That is elevation. Then eventually, you get liberated from material bondage. So the human form of life is to educate, to elevate, and to liberate. But if you use that human form of life, misuse it in pursuing sense gratification, you are using a higher machine meant for educating, elevating, and liberating for lower propensities of sense gratification. The machine will get spoiled, and you will lose it. And it will take you a long time before you can get a human machine again. So let us take advantage of this human machine to cultivate knowledge. As a human being, nothing should interest you apart from devotional service to God. Using your intelligence, you know that everything in the material world is futile. Even the body itself is futile. The body is crashing already. So you should know that everything associated with the body will crash too. And with that understanding, we should joyfully engage the body in Krishna consciousness and be gradually elevated. And this is the analogy. This is the analogy we just read on the screen now. On the far left, you see fire covered by smoke. In the middle, you see mirror covered by dust. And on the right, you see the embryo covered by the womb. So these are different degrees of covering. Wood covered by smoke is the lightest covering. Mirror covered by dust is a lighter covering. And embryo covered by the womb is a very, very, very dense covering. Darkness. Full of darkness there. So the human beings are compared to be like smoke covered by fire. The birds are compared to be like mirror covered by dust. And the trees and the associated trees are considered to be like embryo covered by the womb. So one is the mode of goodness, fire in the mode of goodness, fire covered by smoke. Mirror covered by dust is in the mode of passion, and embryo covered by the womb is in the mode of ignorance. The human form of life has a better chance. Okay? See? Human, animals, plants. Okay. So, it's 30, it's 14. Okay, we have some 15 minutes more, though we didn't start early, but we'll do one more test. So the enemy in this case called lust is further described. So in the next verse, you see, Abritam Gyana Etena Gyanino Nityava Irina Kamarupe na Kunteya Duspurena Analena Cha Abritam Gyana Etena Gyanino Nityava Irina Kamarupe na Kunteya Duspurena Analena Cha. Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by his eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. Oh. Okay, I didn't finish reading the purport. Okay, they say, by careful handling of the smoke in the fire, fire can be made to blaze. Therefore, the human form of life is a chance for the living entity to escape the entanglement of material existence. In the human form of life, one can conquer the enemy lust by cultivation of Krishna consciousness under the guidance, able guidance. Okay. So this one, does the while living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by its eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire. So the nature of lust is being further explained here. The nature of lust. The nature of lust. Purport. It is said in the Manusmriti that lust cannot be satisfied by any amount of sense enjoyment, just as fire is never extinguished by the constant supply of fuel. So if you want to extinguish lust, the fire of lust, and you keep on engaging in lusty activities, then you can never extinguish it. Lust is insatiable. Just like fuel, when fuel is burning, you add more fuel. The more you add fuel, the more it continues to blaze. So continuous sense gratification simply aggravates the senses more and more into sense gratification. But if you don't feed the fire more fuel, the fire can blaze to the maximum and start coming down. It goes up and begins to come down. But if you are pouring more fuel, that means if you continue to indulge in sense gratification, unregulated sense gratification, you are pouring fuel. Because the nature of lust is that it's like a blazing fire. It is never satisfied. It is never satisfied. The more you engage in it, the more it provokes you to engage in it more. Oh, only this time. The next time will be the only time. Next time until the whole lifetime. You never see that next time. Oh. So that's the nature of lust. Trying to satisfy lust means you are adding more fuel to the fire that is already burning. In the material world, the center of all activities is sex. And thus, this material world is called Maitunya Agara, or the shackles of sex life. When we say shackles, it's like prisoners are put behind bar. When prisoners are inside the bar, you see shackles, some iron, turning irons used to fence the place. Those are called shackles. Just as prisoners are shackled within bars, the living entity is shackled within the material world by the shackle, by the ropes and the thorns of sex life. The more sex you indulge in, the more you are shackling yourself in the material world. Called Mantunia Agarai, bondage, the shackles of sex. In the ordinary prison house, criminals are kept within bars. Similarly, the criminals who are disobedient to the laws of the Lord are shackled by sex life. So to be so addicted to sex itself is a sign that we are being shackled by the bars called sex life. We are shackled in this material. We are bound in this material world by sex life, desire for sex, and sex itself. Advancement of material civilization on the basis of sex gratification means increasing the duration of material existence of the living entity. Therefore, this loss is the symbol of ignorance by which the living entity is kept within the material world. While one enjoys sense gratification, it may be that there is some feeling of happiness, but actually that so-called feeling of happiness is the ultimate enemy of the sense enjoyer. So this is how dangerous it is. We have 4 more verses to end this particular chapter. And we are going to leave these 4 verses for the next class. But before we go, this is verse 39. I've returned Gyana 18. Gyanina Nitiabarina. Kamaru Pena Kuntia. Dusprena Analina Cha. Loss is the greatest enemy because it covers our knowledge of the absolute truth. And as it has already been explained in verse 28 of this chapter, it is that knowledge which makes the difference between working for Krishna and working for fruitful results. So the Prabhupada explains in the purport of the 40th verse that the enemy has captured different strategic positions of the body, of the conditioned soul. And therefore, Lord Krishna is giving hints of those places so that one who wants to conquer the enemy may know where he can be found. Before a battle, we should know where to find our enemy. Krishna will therefore explain where and how to attack loss in our attempts to overcome its power. So this loss is residing within our body. Because somebody may ask, where is this loss? Where is this loss itself? Where is it? Can it be seen? It cannot be seen, but you can know his dwelling place, where he's living. So Krishna want to reveal his dwelling places of lust, so that if we want to conquer him, we can know where to go to attack him. And we know where to go and attack him. So that is a verse, the next verse. The next verse and the next few verses are revealing where lust is hiding. Yes. The next 3 verses is revealing where lust is hiding and how to conquer him. So we just leave only these 4 verses, 40, 41, 42, 43 for our last class for this chapter. Okay? For now, know this. Lust is our eternal sinful enemy, and it can never be satisfied. The more you try to satisfy lust, it's like you are pouring fuel into fire that is already blazing, the more entangled you become. So thank you very much. We should be aware of lust so that individually, because fighting lust is an individual affair. Fighting lust or trying to conquer lust is an individual affair. Individual. Nobody will conquer your lust for you. Somebody can help you to tell you where to find the lust. The enemy, lust, where is hiding in your body so that you can know how to lay ambush. You can know how to lay ambush, so that you can trap him, catch him, and begin to wrestle him back the time you didn't expect. You are so prepared for him that for lust that the time lust didn't expect, you just lay ambush. You ambush it, try to arrest him because you now know where he's residing. If you know where your enemy is residing, you can strategize to go attack. So lust is residing inside this our body. But there are 3 different places in lust is residing. Krishna is going to reveal the residential quarters of lust in our body so that we know how to prepare to launch our attack. In fact, let me give you a hint. The mind, the intelligence, and the ego, these are the sitting places of lust. As in the next verse, the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego, these are the sitting places of lust, through which lust covers the living entity and bewilders him. So if you know where your enemy is residing, this enemy, in this case, lust, is residing within your body, you can know how to strategize and attack the enemy. You must attack the enemy with sufficient weapons. To attack lust, you must be well equipped with the scriptural injunctions, with taking shelter of the Lord, and with a formidable general, the spiritual master, guiding you. Don't do this, don't do that, do like this. If you come across it, do like this, so that your strategists, work in alliance with the Lord in the heart to direct you on how to overcome lust. Lust can be overcome by constant practice and by detachment. So thank you very much, and God bless you as you equip yourself to fight Mr. Lust, who is very subtle. You have a physical body, but lust is very, very subtle. And his residential quarters, once again, are the mind, the intelligence, and the ego. These are the 3 sitting places of lust. Of course, the senses are included, but the mind is the headquarters where lust resides. Lust has built a mansion in your mind, and that's where it resides. And from there, it comes to attack and go back into his camp. Within your mind, he has a residential quarter. So we are going to read more about that in our next class, and how to strategize, where to attack first, how to attack it, all that we are going to deal with in our next class. So thank you very much. Krishna bless you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna. Let me stop sharing. Here we have Balabhadra Prabhu. We have
Okay.
Oyeka. Yes, Hare Krishna. We have Isana Guranga. We have Purushottama Yatra. Raghupati, when did you come? Raghupati, when did you come? Raghupati came towards the end. Raghupati, when did you come? Okay. So anyway, thank you very much. See you in our next class. And we'll conclude the whole topic then. Go and read ahead so that you can ask questions. Hare Krishna. His co-founder Charasila SD Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Gura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.